I'm going to do a review of Knit Picks knitting needles. Now I want to start off by saying that Knit Picks has no idea who I am, and all of these products are things that I purchased myself. A lot of them I've had for several years, up to maybe 6 or 7 years. And I just wanted to do a review because they really are my favorite knitting needles. I've tried out so many different types of needles, and these ones are hands down my favorite, actually. So the first needle that I want to talk about is the Knit Picks straight needles. These needles here are the 10-inch Sunstruck needles. Now they have a couple different colors that they come in, but I'm just going to talk about the ones that I have. Color doesn't really make a huge difference. Sometimes it's fun to have a pretty pattern or whatever, and you'll see some of my other needles that I show you highlight some of the other colors that they do come in. But these are the kind that I have. And they come in this nice organizer if you get the whole set. You don't have to buy them as a set. You can buy them individually. But if you do get them in the set, you'll get them in this package, and they come in sizes US 4 to US 11. And the reason why I really like these needles along with the rest of Knit Picks needles is for a few reasons. Number one, because the finish on these is so smooth that your yarn just slides back and forth without being extremely slippery either, like a metal needle, a nickel or an aluminum needle. And also they have very, very sharp points on them. And for me, I prefer to have a nice sharp point to get inside of my stitches. Some people might not care for this. They might prefer a duller point so that they don't split their yarn while they're knitting. But for me, this works really well. And then they have on the ends, you can see here, they tell you the sizes. And I do have other types of knitting needles that'll have the sizes printed on here, and what usually ends up happening is from the yarn rubbing back and forth all the time that it ends up wearing off, and you can't tell what size they are anymore. So those are my favorite straight needles. And I will say that all of these needles from Knit Picks are very reasonably priced, and in some ways you'll find that they're better priced than that of needles sold in yarn shops. I think I paid somewhere around $44.95 or something like that for the set, so for the whole set. So they're pretty affordable. The next needles from Knit Picks that I'm going to talk about are the double pointed needles. Now you'll notice that these ones have rainbow color to them. These are the Harmony Wood needles, and they're made out of the same thing as the Sunstruck. They are a birch needle, and they're very similar. They have a very nice smooth finish, and the points are very nice and sharp, which when you're working with double pointed needles, I personally like to have a very sharp point on them as well. I find it much easier to work in the round when my needles have sharp points on them. They come in different lengths and a very wide variety of sizes, all the way down to really teeny tiny ones that almost look like toothpicks. Now Knit Picks does sell fixed circular needles, which you'll see here that on this needle the cable does not come off, and that's good for when you're making hats and things. You need a smaller cable. These ones are the Caspian, and that's why they have like that greenish color to them. This is a newer type, and I believe they have another one. It's called Majestic that has like a purple tone to it, but I do not have any of those, so I can't really speak to how those look. Now, I purchased these before Knit Picks had come out with their new set of interchangeable needles that offer short tips so that you can use them on shorter cables and use them for smaller projects. And I don't have any of those. So I did purchase these smaller cable needles. Lastly, I want to show you my very favorite needles from Knit Picks. And these are so useful. They are the interchangeable options needles. And I know that a couple of other companies sell these as well, but these ones are my absolute favorite, and they're very well priced. So with a traditional circular needle, like this one here, you would have to buy this same needle size in several different lengths of cable in order to have everything you need for different projects. So you might need one that's, you know, you might need one that's a short cable for making a hat, and then you'd have to buy that same size in a larger one if you're going to use it for making a sweater or a scarf. But with the options needles, you can buy one size of needle and then buy different size cables. So here I've got a shorter cable, I've got a longer one, and then this one is extremely long. This one is their longest one. I believe it's like 40 inches. They come in all the same colors that the straight needles do and the double pointed needles, with the exception that these ones, if you prefer a metal needle, then they do come in this nickel plated as well. And I do have one of these because every once in a while I feel like using a metal needle. Sometimes I just want something that's really slippery. But how these work is that you have all of these cables and you choose what size that you need. You can tell there's a hole at the end of your needle. And at the end of your cable, it almost looks just like a screw. And you screw these together. And then it comes with like this little key that you stick into this hole here. And it allows you to tighten it up nice and secure so that it provides a nice smooth join and that it won't come undone while you're knitting. Now also the cool things about these is if you're working on a project, and I do this all the time, where I get bored with something or I run out of yarn and have to buy some more, but I need this needle tip to make something else on a different size cable. So what's really cool about that is that when you buy your cables, which are very inexpensive, they come with this key, and then you also get this little cap. And what you can do is take off your needles, screw on this little cap so that now your project is secure if you need to use these needle tips to work on a different project. And then when you're ready to come back to this one, you just unscrew this cap and put your needle back on. So I hope this has been informative and helpful to anybody who's looking for a new set of needles or has been wondering about buying the Knit Picks needles because they typically do sell them through the catalog or through their website, and so it's not something that you usually get to see in person and touch and see if you like it.